welcome back to your most favorite show, Let's Talk. This is your host Sumaya, and in today's episode we are going to talk about a unique ecosystem, the Sundarbans, the largest mangrove forest in the world. It is designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1997. The Sundarbans is a deltaic forest located 60% in Bangladesh and 40% in India, with the total area of 10,000 km square. Talking about the ecosystem, the Sundarban has a dynamic nature with enriched biodiversity. The Sundarbans as a mangrove ecosystem has a complex relationship between all the living and non-living organisms, such as the tallest, most commercial plants, the 65 species of mangroves, 1136 wildlife species, with wonderful environment with the sun, seas, rivers, and of course the Bay of Bengal. So let us know what our guests are thinking about the Sundarbans.
Thank you, Sumaya, for having me here today. My name is Pei Yee, and hello to everyone. It is my pleasure to share with you all about the players in Sundarbans. There are 334 species of plants in total in Sundarbans, and 35 of them are species of true mangrove plants. The origin of the name of Sundarbans comes from a tree species called Sundari. Sundari are the dominant mangrove tree species in Sundarbans, as it covers about 73% of the total forest area. The varieties of the forest that exist in Sundarbans, such as mangrove scrub and littoral forests, provide critical ecosystem function. This vast mangrove forest provides critical nursery habitat as safe haven for juvenile stages of a wide range of species. It could be said without doubt that the mangrove trees are the foundation species in the Sundarbans ecosystem. However, the degrading health of mangrove affects their recovery potential against climate change. It is important for us to conserve the mangrove forest. Other than that, in Sundarbans, there are many different animal species. Here, I will pass it to my partner Izzah to continue explaining the players in Sundarbans.
Thank you, Pei Yee. First and foremost, I would like to thank Sumaya for having me on this talk show to deliver about the players in Sundarbans ecosystem. And a very good morning also to all the panels. Alright, so I will explain about the keystone species in Sundarban. First, let us know what is the meaning of the keystone species. Keystone species are those species that have a dramatic impact on ecosystem concerning their numbers. A keystone species is one that triggers a chain reaction up and down the entire food chain. As a keystone is an edge, they are an integral cog in the entire ecosystem's dynamics. So, what is the keystone species in Sundarban? Bengal tigers are one of the main predators and keystone species in the Sundarbans. Without this wildlife, the entire habitat suffers. The Bengal tiger is a focal species for biodiversity conservation management in the Sundarbans. Tiger is an important part of the ecosystem. Unlike most tigers, they attack humans often who venture into the forest and cause about 50 to 100 deaths a year. They feast on the other animals such as water buffalo and deer. Experts estimate that a regular Bengal tiger will eat 50 deers a year. It is estimated that there are now 180 Bengal tigers and about 30,000 spotted deers in the area. Use of tiger as a keystone species and its impact on socio-ecological and economic considerations need to be reviewed critically with the aim of formulating a management action plan for tiger conservation in the region. Alright, that's all from me. I will pass back to the Sumaya. Thank you.
Very interesting. I'd like to go to Abdullah to know what he thinks about the relationship between the players.
Thank you, Sumaya, for having me as a guest on this talk show. As we know, the Bengal tigers and Sundari mangrove are the keystone and foundation species of this rich and diverse ecosystem. They have a very interesting relationship between them, as the mangrove trees houses a myriad of species of fishes and crustaceans that are well adapted to live and reproduce along the roots of pneumatophores. The mangrove also acts as a layer of protection as it shields the island from heavy wind, tidal waves, coastal erosions, and also seawater intrusions. Speaking of which, the Bengal tigers also reside here and swim from island to island to hunt prey such as curtle deers, wild boar, and Indian muntjacs that also live within the labyrinth of channels, branches, and roots of the mangrove trees. So basically, the mangrove trees provide critical ecosystem functions for all the biotic components. It is what makes the ecosystem unique with rich wildlife habitats.
Okay, so what about the importance of Sundarbans? I would like to know from Vidthiya and Fatimah.
First of all, greetings to all and thanks to Miss Sumaya for having me in this show today. Talking about the importance of the species existing at Sundarbans Mangrove Forest, let's look into the foundation species, the mangrove trees. In this ecosystem, over 59 species of mangroves can be found and they act as a flood barrier at the ecosystem as well as supporting the community of the aqua lives. Besides that, these species are important to the ecosystem as they help to protect the coastal area from the tropical storms, waves and erosion. Moving on to the Bengal tiger, also known as the Panthera tigris, which is the keystone species and it is also one of the mammal species that can be found existing in the ecosystem. They are important to the ecosystem as they are the main species that maintaining the existing biodiversity. Unfortunately, these species are going through extinction due to the climate changes at the Sundarbans Mangrove Forest and this leads to the disruption of food chain. I have attached one of the food chain that exists in the ecosystem of Sundarbans and according to the food chain, we can see that the Bengal tiger is the higher level consumer and if they face extinction, it will lead to the increment of the white ibis which will cause reduction in the viability of the secondary consumer. Thus, this might lead to the endangerment of the mud crab in the ecosystem followed by the increased mangrove periwinkle, the primary consumer, will reduce the amount of the producer in the ecosystem. Hence, all existing species are actually important in maintaining the biodiversity of the ecosystem while balancing the food chain. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumaya. So I will proceed. In my opinion, we know that Sundarbans are very famous for their rich flora and fauna, including biotic and abiotic component. So each of them has their own importance to the biosphere. An example, the mangrove forest in Sundarbans. Many people do not know about the importance of this mangrove forest to the biosphere. One of its importance is the area is nursery for some species of fish and can provide habitat for animals such as bird, snail, and crab. Mangrove forests also can provide coastal protection. Based on my understanding, the trees in the mangrove forest have a unique roots that can grip and grow on the bank of the river and serve as a fortress to the soil so that it is not eroded by water. Mangrove forest is very important to the coastal communities around the world, like million people depends to the mangrove forest in the Sundarbans. One of them is the indigenous community. They use mangrove wood for construction and for medicinal. And for your information, the mangrove wood contain medicinal plant that used in traditional medicine. And why they use it? Because it's so readily available and cheaper than modern medicine. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Now we know a lot about the Sundarbans. So Ahmad, don't you think we should protect and conserve the Sundarbans for our own good?
Yes, of course. The main reason we can see is the recent event on 20 May where Cyclone Amphan hit the West Bengal Bangladesh coast with heavy rains and massive storm surge. The mangroves not only help dramatically reduce wind speed as the hurricane passes through, but also help break the waves, which protect the coastal community. The forests act as a wall as prevent salty seawater carried by the cyclone that can kill fish, vanishing most drinking supplies and destroying land for agriculture. The Sundarbans has always been like a mother to Bangladesh, protecting this country from cyclones and tidal surges. Next is Sundarbans has broad biodiversity on both land and water. And the most famous one is the Royal Bengal tiger and the only mangrove habitat for Panthera tigris species in the world. But then humans keep intervening in this natural environment. For instance, the illegal tiger poaching, which narrowed down the population to 115 tigers remaining in the Sundarbans. So let's not lose its unique and beautiful wealth of biodiversity, or else it will become the greatest loss to our world. Last, I want to mention that Sundarbans is known as an ancient heritage landmark for mythology and historical activities. For example, the traditional mask making that have given rise to cultural landscape of the Sundarbans. We don't want this tradition to lose, like when the colonizers are ruling and not much effort are done to protect the forest. Over the years, our arrogance has worsened the problem, and we will soon face the wrath of nature if we continue to neglect it. Therefore, to sum up, I believe this should be a wake-up call to responsible authorities, people of Bangladesh, and international organizations to take the greatest possible steps to preserve this unique forest. In conserving the mangrove, we should all play a positive role, keeping in mind that if we save the Sundarbans, it will save us too.
Okay, so thank you to all the guests and see you in next episode.